Hey everybody, so coming back to another video, this time to solder in the new output jack from Puretone. So I'll show you why I like these and I think they work much better. There is a Puretone jack. It's a beautiful thing. Most notably, you see how it has two prongs for the tip, and it's got two for the ground. This one is the mono version. They also sell a stereo version if you have an instrument with active pickups and electronics. It has a third tab on there, so it works as the switch. And here you see is just your typical jack. This one is a little rusted, kind of crusted right there, so I like to replace these. I think these sound much better. So when your jack has a cable plugged into it, and you're moving around, on this is always solid contact with the plug end. Whereas this one, if you move your cable a certain way, the plug will come apart from here, grounding issues, all that other stuff. So what I do first, we're going to take the solder off of this. There we go. There's the old one. You can see how rusted it looks right there. So that couldn't have been making a great connection. Right. So the new jacks, before you solder them, I like to sand these nice and clean. They do come in gold, they come in black, and they go a little liberal with the powder coating, and tends to not let the solder stick. So there's nothing wrong with cleaning these up really good. It's all about the prep work. Nobody's going to see it, so it's still important regardless. So to make quick work, I do like to use a little rotary tool. Just gotta change the collet out here. Now, this little thing was cheap. This was down at Harbor Freight. Single speed, but it's all I need to get the job done. Just got a sanding drum on there. And you don't have to go crazy digging into it and sanding it. Alright, and there it is. It's cleaned up a little bit. That will let the solder flow better and give you a better joint that's not cold. Right. For this, I'm also using my soldering station, my Schneider soldering station from Harbor Freight. it goes between 392 to 895 degrees. Okay, so now that I've got this out, I'm going to get some slack in here. Let's see how good any of these are. Yeah, it looks good enough to use. Alright. Perfect. Normally if this push-pull wasn't here, I would just solder out here, outside of the instrument, and then push it through. But since there is a push-pull volume pot in the way, I'm not going to be able to do that. So I'm just going to give myself some slack over here. Okay. So these jacks are pretty easy to figure out which one's the ground, which one's the tip. You can just look straight down on it and see. This one is for the ground, this one's for the tip. See that it's separated here by this ring. And the other thing that's also important is I like to also use some of this heat shrink tubing. So I'm going to cut a little piece of that, and I will be putting it over here on the hot wire, so that doesn't short out on anything. Doesn't need to be a super big piece. It just really has to cover the lugs, which is this little piece here. You can get these pre-cut pieces on Amazon. It's a few hundred pieces for really cheap. So just enough to kind of cover it there, a little bit past. A little X-Acto knife. There we go. Got my little piece of heat shrink tubing. Perfect. Okay. First I'm going to solder though the ground, because it is shorter. I don't have much away for that one. Okay. Now the other thing that also helps doing this is have something that holds your piece that you're working on. So I have picked up this Harbor Freight. It's a helping hand. It's got these clamps on it. They all swivel different directions. You can lock it down. It's got the magnifying glass. So just something to hold your piece while you're working on it. So this is the ground. So it's going to be going into here. We can do this. Move this around. It's kind of close. Let's turn this around. Perfect. I like to get this just in there. Okay. I'm using some lead-free solder on this. And the trick to this, for any kind of soldering, is not really melting the solder onto the wire, but heating the terminal and letting the wire, the soldered wire, flow onto it. So if I touch it right about here, this whole ring on this lug should get hot enough that this will flow in here, fill this little hole up. Let this start a little bit near the edge of the tip. This will build up, you'll see. Just kind of move this around a little bit. Alright, there we go, and then let it cool. Then we'll hold it right up here. Alright. You're just going to use this the soldering iron to just pull that solder right onto the wire, like so. And there it is. Just like that. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing looking like that. Alright, so then the next one we're going to do is for the positive wire. So this one I'm going to put that heat shrink tubing on. Find that piece I just had. Here it is. Okay. This has to go in first, because you do have to take a lighter to it and shrink it down. And once again, I'm going to use the clips here. Turn this around till I get the lug on the top. Perfect. And I'm going to get this just inside the hole on this lug. Just like so. I like to bend this a little bit. Alright. That looks good. Again, I'm just going to heat up the lug. Let the solder flow. Put it right here near this point where the wire's going through, though. There we go. I'm going to just put some solder onto this lug here to start, and then it's going to start flowing into that hole that wire is in. And then once it's in there, you can move it around, let it harden, and that's it. It's in there. I can take that off. Helping hands are awesome. Everything's all nice and tight. We're giving a light tug. I'm going to slip the heat shrink tubing over here. And then I'm going to take up my Bic. Flick the Bic. And just heat shrink it like this. Quick little pat. Like that. And that's it. That's how easy it is to solder in a jack in any guitar. Alright, hopefully this helps.